dads, we drink coffee, we talk about whatever's going on in the news. And we got a couple of interesting things going on in the news. If you think that CNN is where sparks fly for interesting drama, not CNN, C-SPAN. Sorry, man, I really messed that up. C-SPAN. The Senate confirmations are going on for Bobby Kennedy. He had a confirmation here yesterday.
There's a lot of interesting stuff that's going on right now in the world. And what's funny is to watch the media, like the obviously biased media, try and spin it their way. It's like almost a new game. You know, it's like, okay, how are they going to take, what are they going to take, and how are they going to spin it? And if you're right, you're going to move to the next level and eventually get to the grand prize.
There's no change there. That is exactly what they've been doing for
right, but they've been doing it for so long in front of this is what I told Alex one day. My son is fixing to be 17 years old, and he's very interested in all this stuff. He's not your average 17-year-old kid that goes to school and work, and he does, but he comes home, and now me and Ashley will sit in there and we're like, what did you learn? And what'd you learn? And he'll ask. They were talking about this in class today about Trump, and they were talking about this, and what do y'all think? And he talks to us through it. And when we say something, he asks questions. So he's very astute on what's going on.
I wonder what they're saying to him in your school, because I'm hearing that I literally heard from my neighbor, we'll say, that there was a teacher, white lady teacher, that was telling kids in their school that Trump's going to send ICE agents to pick them up. And I'm like, that's crazy. And why would you tell, like, that's not what we're doing, but why would you tell kids that to cause fear? And like
Alex has his history teacher last semester. I think it was his history teacher last semester. It was, he really loved him. Alex is the good looking, charismatic kid, so everybody likes him. And he said she's very liberal. And he's not. Alex was not raised that way. We've educated him, in history and all this stuff. And he believes how he believes. And it's probably, but we let him. And he's
probably like a mix of things, right?
Yeah, he is a mix of things because of how he grew up, in the area he grew up. And he comes home and tells us stuff that she said. Well, she said this, and she hasn't went past the line for me yet.
No,
not at all. I've actually been like, okay, if you're a liberal teacher, that's about as far as you need to go with your agenda. You need to talk about history, and you need to read and have discussions on history and why these people did the things that they did because of the things going on at the time, and learn from those lessons from what they did. You don't need to insert your opinion on what happened.
Yeah. I mean, to some degree they can't.
No, yeah, you're right. They can't. That's why
it's an industrial culture thing. Like 73% of teachers are women. When is the last time you were in a room of 73% women?
when I got out of high school, when I was going to college there, that was my goal. I wanted to be a history teacher, but I had decided I didn't want to be a history teacher on a high school level because those little shits don't listen to anything. I had just gotten out of high school. Those are my peers. They didn't learn anything. I wanted to be a history teacher at the collegiate level. So those people are actually paid to be there. And they would be interested in learning about history instead of just memorizing it to answer a test question and going on.
Right. Yeah.
So I've got lots of friends, close friends that are teachers, and they've all said, Andy, you wouldn't have lasted very long as a teacher because they tell you what to teach. They tell you what to say. They tell you how to do it. And if you deviate from that in any way, you get in trouble and you get let go. They don't want you as a teacher. You do not follow their orders.
If you're a professor at a college, it's not like, oh, you are now an esteemed professor and everyone respects you. No, you're an adjunct. You're maybe a lecturer. Oh, you're maybe on the department chair, but your boss is still the dean. Like, you still got bosses. As long as you got bosses, you got people that are being told to say things that they don't want to say. And that's the way the college is too. So yeah, it's not like you're Indiana Jones when you become a history professor.
Right.
It's not like that at
That's
all.
not it. And that whole concept of tenure, that needs to be thrown out the window and gone back to, like, contracts that go to it. You've been here for a while, good.
Well,
We're going
a
to
lot of
extend your that crap
so
is being
so
abused.
tenure is really only for like the highest like echelon of
It should
professors in
be.
most colleges.
It
And
should be. I don't think it
but
is
well,
anymore.
okay, so at like a community, I mean, at like a community college, you'll have a lot of adjuncts. So you may have faculty, and they will be on contracts. They'll be on a year contract or a year, very often like this. In fact, my wife's a department chair, and I'm pretty sure she's on an annual contract, and she's a department chair. So now her boss is she reports to the dean, so the dean can get tenure. And at like 4-year universities, you'll have adjuncts, which are basically like part-time instructors, and then you'll have like uh, a associate professor, which is like it's higher. You have lecturers, you'll have associate professor, which is higher than an a lecturer, but it's still not a tenured position, and then professor. So like there's still like a chain there, but there's
I don't
several
guess
more
I've
that
ever
can get
really thought
tenure.
about it in like that hierarchy
Yeah,
before, but
and
that makes a lot of sense
so
when you're explaining it. That I've just never thought of it that way before.
so think about the other dimensions of that matter. If you're a there's like basically two kinds of four universities. There's teaching schools and
Right.
there are research schools.
Research schools.
Research schools are the ones that pull in investment money and they do
Vanderbilt
yeah,
University
right.
in Tennessee is a research school,
Now, if
right?
you're at a research school is of higher esteem, right? Because you're like, oh, we're the ones that are really like doing the thinking or whatever.
I think
All
at
right, so
Louisville's a research
sure,
school, I think,
maybe it might be. I don't know
with the
offhand.
medical.
So so now imagine that you're in the pool of professors at a research school, but you're not at the top of the chain, and you're trying to get promoted. You're trying to get tenure. You're trying to get promoted. You're trying to get papers published. So you're in a culture where there's people above you. You're trying to get papers published. You can't publish papers that go against the consensus and
Or they're not gonna publish
really
them.
so there's cultural alignment. You'll find cultural alignment among
So
and it builds a culture of like you better do what we say if you want to.
so that exactly what you said. I'm steering the car down this other
Mhm,
lane over here, down this other path.
sure,
That right there, though, is the exact thing that Graham Hancock says about all of this archaeology and all of this stuff
sure.
that we're discovering. He's like, we try to go out and say this stuff. Hey, isn't this weird? We found this, and isn't this strange because it goes against something that we've been taught? And every other professor is like, no, no, because of what you just said. They're a
They
part of
didn't
this.
want to go against the consensus.
There was a really, this wasn't Graham Hancock that did this, but there's a really good one. You can look up the videos on this on YouTube or wherever. They did this study on the Great Sphinx of Giza, and
Uh-huh,
they took pictures of this part of the Sphinx up there and the stones, and they took close up pictures of the stones, and they sent these pictures to like 20, 50, 100 geologists. And they were like, can you tell us what's going on with these ancient stones? Only thing they told the geologists were, these are ancient stones. Can you tell us what's going on with them? And every single geologist came back and said that is water erosion from a long period of time of water. Water was sitting around those rocks for a long, long, long period of time, and that's water erosion. Every single geologist said this. When that person, I can't remember who it was, came back and told all those geologists that this was near the top of the Great Sphinx, every single one of them were like, take my damn name off that paper.
Right.
I did not I take my name off that. Every single geologist was like, "Take my name off that."
So I'm gonna divert us now
Yeah,
slightly.
you can go
I
back.
mean,
Come on.
we're talking about kind of the pressure. I mean, this is the topic of the kind of pressures in the academic system that form the culture of consensus, and essentially creates this environment where, like, it's not like there's this malicious conspiracy where, like, you better believe this. It's more like everybody else is saying this, and either one, this is what I've been trained,
We're we're
or
smarter
two,
than
I'm
you.
just trying
We've
to
been
get
doing
my
this a
paper
long
published,
time. You should
or
listen to us. Yeah.
three, you've published two or three papers, and now if you I've always thought about this. If you are an academic and you publish two or three papers, and then later you have some research that is contrary to your own publishing, how much stones would it take for you to publish something that overturns your own research? Like, that never happens. You never hear about anything like that. So, like, there, once you start publishing and start putting your name out there on saying these things happen, this things happen like this, I mean, maybe you're being honest about it. You have an additional dimension of resistance to overturn that, because nobody wants to just go out there and
I'm gonna
publish, I
yeah,
was wrong.
that's what I was gonna say. I'm
Never
gonna
gonna
get
happen.
my friends that are all in this business, and we're all gonna dog you. JJ's
I
over
don't
here
I
saying
don't
that my stuff is wrong. So
Yes.
let's
Well,
let's get him. Let's dog him.
I
What's
don't think
going
it's
on
that.
in his love life?
I don't
Let's
really
get
think it's that
anything.
insidious. I think it's
I
more
think it
like
is.
people avoiding embarrassment. Avoiding
Even that.
embarrassment.
That
Yeah.
that's an aspect of it, I
So,
think.
yesterday during Robert Kennedy's hearing, confirmation hearing, he was asked about, there's no, study. He was asked something about vaccines or whatever, and he was saying that during a analysis. Do you know what a meta analysis is? I'm gonna just, for the listener, I'm gonna assume you don't know. So a meta analysis is
Of
when you
course I do, but go ahead and explain for
yeah, of
everyone
course,
else.
just and
Of
that's
course I
silence.
do.
Sure
Yeah,
I will. So in a
meta-analysis.
meta-analysis, what you do is you review the literature. Okay. So the literature says there was a study here that said this. There was a study here that said this. There was a study here that says this. You take a bunch of different studies, the bunch of the results of a bunch of different studies, and you and get a analysis of the overarching kind of uh, research that has been done. So when papers are published, they usually are published when there are significant findings, right? But I may have been hearing somebody else talk about this too. I think it was a professor. It was on a different show. So, it was Gad Sad. I was listening to Gad Sad the other day. So Gad Sad had said that he had done some research. Gad Sad's a like psychology guy, I think. I don't know. He's very famous. I don't know exactly what his field is. Maybe economics. I'm not sure. Not anyway. I don't know what his field is. So he had done some research, and he was doing this test, and he found that there was no consensus among the field he was in. So he set up. So he was like, "All right, I'm not going to make any a priori assumptions. That is, I'm not going to make any assumptions before I do the test. I'm just going to run the test and see what I find." And he runs this test, and he finds null results. That is, no significant results. So he goes to publish this paper, and the journal, the guy that runs the journal was like, well, these are not real. There's no real findings here. It's a null findings, no real thing. So it's not really worth being published. Okay, well, when you do a meta analysis, but you only are able to analyze the things that have been published, and the only things they publish are the ones where there's significant findings, and they don't include all the things where there's like no results, then what do you get? You get a meta-analysis that's tilted in one way, because academics don't publish the null research they're supposed to. So, but it's not interesting, and it doesn't get your, like, oh, we did this big study and like we found nothing. Well, that doesn't look good on your
Let me
CV.
give you another aspect, and you don't like to look at it this way, but this is what I'm here for. This is why I'm the other half of your brain. There's
Okay.
also the aspect of, hey, these studies are coming out showing this stuff saying no, and it's going against what we want. Let's just don't publish them. Get rid of them. No, don't let them, You know, that was my
Mm,
argument for 20 years against people when they say, talking about this subject, and they say, but studies show. You got that study, this talking point that you're parroting, that you didn't look into yourself. You're parroting it from someone, and that someone probably is from NBC Nightly News. All right. And that someone from NBC Nightly News makes his paycheck from Nightly News to NBC, and NBC makes $20 million a year from the company that makes the
mhm.
news, the thing on the news story that you're fixing to freaking dog. So if you dog the company that's paying $20 million of your salary every year for your company, and they pull that money to go to your opposing station, you're going to get fired. They're going to get somebody in there that's going to read the story that says, well, this study shows that nothing. And what another thing that they don't look into is who did that study. Company A, that's owned by company B, that's owned by company C, that's owned by company D, that's owned by company E, that's owned by the people that make the whatever thing that you're talking about here. I've said that for 20 years. And then here on X, they've been
Uh,
talking about that here
I find
recently and stuff.
my impulse is to believe that people are less dastardly Dan with an evil plot to manipulate things, and a lot more probably cowards. I think there are a lot more cowards
I
and
had
afraid
a
of doing things.
I had a long time caller. So let me explain the situation on our station. This was when Obama was running his last time, I think.
Yeah.
Let's see. It was no, it was. I remember who it was. A very prominent Democrat in the area. He wasn't in politics, but he was a lawyer. A lot of money. He wrote a song, a 2 minute long song promoting the Hillary or Obama or whoever it was, went down to
Sure.
Nashville, had a professional recording studio record this song, and then bought airtime on our station to play the song. We wouldn't
Okay.
play the song, but our owner was like, "Well, just buy spot time for 2 minutes of spot time and we'll play it there." So he did. And I had to play this song that I did not want to play because it was bought like an ad that played on this station. And I had callers to call and say, "I'm never listening again." One guy was a really good listener that I'm still friends with to this day, but he does not listen to my station as much as he did anymore.
Mm,
People are like that.
hmm.
People are like that with the news. So the news is not gonna do that, especially in this day and age with radio and news and media. The news don't
I
have
mean,
anybody watching
the
anyway.
the I think there was a story about, like, CNN financials come out the other day, and, like, they had less than 500,000 views on the week of the inauguration. The mo
I have screamed to our owners and our new owners who are the children of our owner. They're on my page, but I'm like, "Look, radio has had one thing that we had sold for years, and that's music." Music. The one of the only places that people could get music was the radio. That's not like that anymore. So we have to change our style. We have to change our business model. And I finally got people to understand that.
CNN had its lowest rated week in more than 7 years last week, with an average weekday audience of 409,000 viewers. Average of
All
half a
those
million. You can't be a cable news CNN if you get half a million views a day. That's
and you see, when the United States government only controls, like, let's say 20% of a giant social media app that it's allowing people to share information over and over again, and you only control a small portion of it, man, wouldn't you think it's probably let's say that this so that we can control more portion of this, because we don't like this crap that's coming out. These people are just able to share whatever, and we're trying to shut it down, but not all of it gets shut down
well,
immediately.
you're talking about TikTok.
No, I mean, I didn't say you're the one that said TikTok. I didn't say
Oh, okay.
TikTok. No,
Hey, listen,
I'm
President
giving
Trump
a hypothetical
President
that
Trump is saving TikTok. He's letting it, like, be figured out.
TikTok schmicktalk. I don't care. I'm just talking hypothetically
You love
in
TikTok.
this story that I'm
Alright.
writing.
Listen, we got some other stuff here. So RFK Jr. is going to go back for a second confirmation hearing today. He had a confirmation hearing yesterday with the Finance Committee. Today, I believe it is with let's see. I got it right here. He's going back for
Man, there was some nasty
labor.
ones.
He's going to go before Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee today. Yeah, there was some nasty little clips. The
Well, that's an Instagram, and I don't know if that'll bring it up. Me and Ashley was sending them back and forth to each other yesterday.
clips.
All these Robert Kennedy Jr. quips, and that was the one with
Yeah.
Cherokee Princess Elizabeth Warren.
Oh yeah, Pocahontas.
Every one of them was trying to go after him. Would you call yourself a conspiracy theorist? And man, he fired right back. That's a little.
Well, the thing was, he was respectful, but I mean, at one point, he straight up said, "You're just being dishonest." So one senator said, "You're recorded on this podcast as saying that no vaccine is safe and effective." And Robert F. Kennedy was like, if you go back and listen to that, I was interrupted. He was being interviewed by Lex Friedman, and he said he did say no vaccine is safe and effective. And then Lex Friedman interrupted him. And then Robert F. Kennedy said, and what I was going to say was no vaccine is safe and effective for everyone. For everyone, every human biology is sensitive to different things, and we react differently. On the whole, many of us this is me talking now. On the whole, many of us respond positively to penicillin. Some people are allergic.
Some people die if they take penicillin.
Yeah. So no vaccine is safe and effective for everyone. That's an important caveat, because when you're a Democrat senator and you cut the sentence off right there, well, then, I mean, these people are not honest. They're liars. They're liars.
The problems that I've always said that I had with the vaccines, and then just I wish we could change this, okay, is that it all goes back to money. If me and you're making a vaccine, it's a live virus that we have to keep alive, and it only stays alive for a certain amount of time. But we have we have millions and millions of people that need this. And so when all these places all around the country need this at the same time, how are we going to keep them all alive? Because they only live a certain. So if our smart people have said, if we put this in there and 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 this in there, it keeps them alive for a lot longer, which will prolong our ability to make money. But the problem is, like you just said, all these other different things that are in there to keep the vaccine that is going to help alive has an adverse effect on a certain percentage of the population. And that adverse effect isn't just, they got the sniffles or get a rash. Sometimes it's really bad.
Right.
And it doesn't happen to everybody. You can take a shot of whiskey and be fine. I can take a shot of whiskey and want to fight everyone in the room.
Right.
The same. Yeah. It's the same.
We're not all the same. That's true. Which is why when you have something like a command health system where like everybody must take a vaccine, well, you're definitely going to have people
going to have some adverse effects. Definitely.
Yeah. So that was a little bit. There was some sparks flying in that.
And for those of you watching on YouTube, please go over to Rumble, because we're fixing to get cut off. Yeah, you're gone.
Yeah, they're all gone. they left. So we got some other confirmation hearings happening today. There is going to be a confirmation hearing for Tulsi Gabbard as the Director of National Intelligence. She's going to be facing questions at her confirmation regarding her comments about Russia and Syria's former leader, Bashar Assad. She will be appearing. Senator Tom Cotton stated that there will be policy differences. Questioning Gabbard's loyalty to the U.S. is inappropriate, emphasizing that her integrity should not be impugned. I think we like Tulsi Gabbard, and I think she is anti-war enough. She's a veteran. I think she's a combat veteran. She's a veteran, and I think she's anti-war enough to perhaps constrain the impulse of the intelligence agencies to get us embroiled in quagmires trying to topple other regimes. In addition to that, we have so that's the director of national intelligence. That's a spy side, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then Donald Trump's FBI director pick, Kash Patel, is also going to get confirmation hearing today. I don't know what I don't know. I don't see the committee that he'll be before, but Kash Patel is going to be facing questioning from Democratic senators about his loyalty and desire to overhaul the bureau. Look, Kash Patel, if he gets in there, he's going to clean house. This dude is smart. He's a lawyer, and he's going in with a plan to rake out the upper management of the FBI that has basically been like pro-establishment uniparty, undermine President Trump for 5-7 years or whatever. He's gonna fire these people. So
Did you see the story out of California where the school was forced to close after its copper wiring was stolen and they didn't have any power in the school?
no, that's not good. Don't steal from schools, y'all.
Brian, our producer, is adding
Producer Brian.
Wednesday, Donald Trump settled a lawsuit with Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram. I heard that this morning. $25 million, most of which will go into funding a presidential library. And why is Facebook and Meta paying Trump, you ask? Well, I'm glad that you asked that. Because they censored him before the election. Big time.
Before the 2020 election.
Before the 2020 election.
Canceled his account, or they yeah. Deke, today is January 30th. In a couple of days, it's Black History Month. Are you looking forward to this? Unless you're in the military, because as of like today, the Pentagon is pausing celebrations for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Black History Month, Pride Month, and more. Incoming.
I like to start Black History Month by listening to Enter Sandman. And then, I'll just kind of go through the album slowly through the whole year, or through the whole month.
Okay.
But I start off with I wasn't trying to joke.
Oh, that wasn't a joke. SecDef Pete Hegseth is directed staff to create a task force to make sure that no diversity, equity, and inclusion programs remain in the Pentagon. The last time they tried to do this, whenever the government was like, hey, you can't do this DEI stuff, then at state levels, schools and stuff, they were like, oh, okay, we canceled the DEI office. We have a new office though that's IED or EID, or it's just the diversity office. They tried to change the name and keep the stuff. Well, Hegseth is going to he's not going to let that happen. That's getting yoinked. There's going to be no more racist, crazy gender ideology in the military for at least the next 4 years. But don't worry. You guys have a chance to elect Democrats in 2028.
I've been watching some military guys talk about that. I watched one yesterday that he was talking about the numbers of trans and whatnot are not what they say. And he was like, I've served with people and blah, blah, blah. And even that one guy was talking, I think it was JD Vance that was like, I've served, when I was in, I've served with gay and that doesn't matter when you're in, they're my brothers and sisters. I'm going to save them, that crap doesn't matter over there. Y'all are making it matter here, and for most of us,
well, it's doing a couple of things. Well, first of all, you have these entire groups in the military that are essentially doing these DEI plans. So you're dedicating resources to these kind of these things.
Right.
You're forcing troops to go to these trainings, even if none of them are gay. They're all going to these DEI sensitivity trainings or what have you. You're promoting. I mean, we've all seen the picture of the 3 men in dresses. Do you remember the picture of the 3 different men in dresses? And
I had burned that out of my memory, but thank you for painting it back.
Remind you of that. So it's not that there's so many of them. It's that we're wasting resources on this stuff and we're projecting weakness. We are projecting weakness. We are projecting around the world the U.S. military, the ones with guys and pumps. and
That guy that's
lipstick.
wearing the dog mask?
Yeah, yeah, that guy. That
I'm not
guy.
scared of that guy. That's
Yeah,
why you're exactly right. I mean, I completely agree with that because as soon as Trump won, all these other places were like, "Oh shit, he don't take shit from nobody." I saw a video from a guy on TikTok, and that's
yeah,
what he was talking about. He was like, "President Trump is like a daddy that's finally come in and acting like a man." He was like, "For 20 years, they've tried to tell us that masculinity is toxic." And he was like, "No, the man has to come in and do some stuff sometimes, whether it hurts your damn feelings or not." You know,
right.
he's got to
It's true.
go in and lay down the law. Whether some people they're not gonna like it, some people are not gonna like it. It's just
Right.
the way of the world, man.
Okay. I
I
got
got
one more news story here.
okay.
You got
No, I
something? I
don't have
got one
any
more.
news. Yeah, go ahead.
An anti-Islam activist who
Yeah.
is known for burning the Quran
Quran.
in Sweden. Quran.
Quran.
Well, how do you say it with a Q?
Quran.
Quran. Quran. Quran.
Lord.
Quran.
WNBC. 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 You're not saying it right.
Quran.
WNBC.
The Quran.
WNBC.
Salwan Momika was burned, who burned the Quran in Sweden, was shot dead, according to media reports. He was in charge with agitating against the ethnic group in 2023. The protests by Momika and Nahim strained Sweden's relations with several Middle Eastern countries. Swedish police have arrested 5 people in connection with the shooting. So, presumably, a revenge gang of 5 Muslims murdered a man because he burned a book in Sweden. That's not good.
You see what they
And
you see what they do to magazines that show a picture of their prophet?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. All right, one last one. We can't not talk about this. Did you hear about the air traffic accident last night at Reagan Airport?
Absolutely, because there is literally nothing else in the news that the
There's
news
nothing
needs
else.
to talk about, so that is the top headline this morning.
Yeah, I saw this right before I went to bed. I was like, "Oh my god!" And first of all, it's a tragedy. An airplane carrying, I think, 64 people.
As far as I knew, an hour and a half ago, they still had not announced any deaths, but they all had a very
They
somber
have
tone to
mm,
their voices.
the accident happened at 9 o'clock last night. I got like
There were
4
there were
different video angles
From
of it.
what I remember
It
from the news story this morning, there were 60 people on board, or a little over 60 people, and there were 3 people on board the helicopter, and
Yeah,
it was an Apache helicopter that
no,
was
Blackhawk. It was a Blackhawk. It
Black
was an
Hawk
H-60. Yep.
that was doing like some nighttime maneuvers or something.
Yep. Yeah, they were doing like training on the. I actually saw the GPS data where you could track the or not GPS,
Flight data.
whatever. Yeah, flight data, and you could see So the helicopter was moving up and down the bank of the Potomac River, and there's one position where it was kind of like doing holding patterns or whatever, and then it just kind of took off in a direction up the up the Potomac. And that happens to be like right across from the airport, the Reagan Airport. And this flight was, I guess, taking off or whatever. And they collided at like 800 feet altitude. And it seems like it may have been at the last moment the pilot of the airplane was trying to maneuver the plane to avoid the helicopter, but it was just like a wild accident. 60 passengers, 4 flight crew on the airplane, and 3 on the helicopter. Last I checked, 28 people were being pulled from the river, but their bodies. They're not people. They're not alive anymore. There are it was 800 feet in the air, and the Potomac River was 30 degrees last night. So after like 20 minutes, like there was no hope of
Yeah, but
really
they said
retrieving
the
any
Potomac in
survivors.
the spot was about 8 feet deep, but still, that water and the crash and
Oh yeah, and there's ice in the water.
yeah.
There's ice in the Potomac right now. So that was tried. just awful. And like right away, if you go on X, like you're gonna find people like, oh, this was not an accident. No, it was an accident. It was an accident. You have a helicopter flying, doing training, probably doing uh not blackout, but like low
We
communications
had a
training or whatever.
helicopter accident just outside of Fort Campbell last year that two hit each other during nighttime
Yeah,
training, doing some stuff like that, and
yeah,
it killed everybody on board. There's a big
yeah.
memorial out this in the spot in this farm field now, and it was a this stuff happens sometimes. This is not
It's
unusual
the
for a helicopter. I
it
I've
is
been in radio 30 years. I've seen this story a lot, unfortunately.
right. It's the first commercial air flight with fatalities in the United States since 2009.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been a long time that we've had.
That's really
Yeah.
saying something.
Isn't it? I think it is.
Really, I mean,
We've had
wow.
planes with doors and wheels fall off in the last year, but no
And we poke
fatalities in
fun
any
at
of it.
that, but yeah, no
Yeah,
fatalities.
yeah.
Wow, I didn't
It
know
and
that. That's
unfortunately, this one, they accidentally collided with a military vehicle, so you like, this it's just I don't know.
yeah, it's
But
crazy.
there will be an investigation and review, and I'm sure we'll learn something. Alright, so that's all of
Alright,
the news this morning, sir, I think.
I got a news story here for you and a
Alright,
question. It ponders a
alright.
very interesting question to me, and I wanna start this off by saying I'm not body shaming anyone in this news story. I'm curious.
Oh my god.
I know you're a big rap fan, and that's what you
Big
listen
rap.
to
I
is rap,
love big rap. Big rap is my favorite kind of rap.
big rap.
Big rap.
And, there is a female rapper named Dank DeMoss. I know you know Dank DeMoss because you've got all of her albums.
Listen, this
She is
story has been really
suing
weighing on me. Go on.
she is suing Lyft,
Mhm.
the passenger service.
Forklift. She's she's suing forklift for no.
That was beautiful.
No. No.
She is
Go on.
suing Lyft, she's slapping them with a multi-million-dollar lawsuit days after the company issued her an apology. Why did they issue her an apology, old man Deke? Well, I'm glad you asked that question.
Why'd they apologize to her? What in the world could they apologize for?
Because she ordered a Lyft car and she could not fit in the car that showed up.
Mhm.
I've got a friend that one of my
Was it
best
like a
friends
Lambo or something? Was it like a
one of my best friends in the entire world and has been for 30 years since we got out of high since we were in high school is a man that is 6 foot tall or 6 foot 8
yeah,
and has always weighed 300 plus pounds. Big tall walking brick
big
wall.
guy.
He's my
Yeah.
buddy. All right. I've seen him struggle to get into cars before. Is this a tall woman, you ask?
Oh, yeah, how
No.
tall is she? I
No,
didn't even
she's
think of that.
not. She's not very tall at all.
Oh,
She is she's a big woman. So my
mm,
question is, my first question is, if you are an Uber or a Lyft driver and you pull up and being overweight like this is I'm trying to describe it as the same way as being tall, super tall. If you
mm,
are a 7 foot tall man and you order a
mhm,
Lyft and that Lyft comes and that car is a freaking neon or some little car today,
mhm.
one of the minis, and you're obviously not gonna fit in the car, and you try to get and you can't fit, and you get mad because 'cause you're late. Are you going to sue Lyft and the driver because they didn't have a car big enough for
So
you who is not the normal size of a person because you're 7 foot tall?
you okay, sure, but if you're 7 foot tall, you know you're 7 foot tall. You know that you bump your head when you walk through doors and you gotta
Right,
dip down. You know
right.
you know that.
You are
I
exactly
think
right.
this woman, look at her expression on her face. She's like, "I'm a queen. I'm fine like I am."
This
And,
woman is like, she was
That's mental illness
mad.
right
She
there.
told the story to one of these freaking evil white demons right here, and these evil white demons said, You can sue them and do this, and you can help your rap career in the same time because your name's going to be everywhere and everybody's going to have to look you up after this, and you're going to get all these people that's going to love you and say, you go girl, you beautiful the way you are. You know
Mhm.
what, you are beautiful the way you are, but this is a
Well,
dumbass thing that you did.
those 2 are like, we think we can get a settlement out of Lyft.
Absolutely they are. Isn't that, I mean,
That's wild. I mean, the thing is, it's also, if you look a little deeper into the story, when the Lyft driver refused her, he was like, "No, no, you're not gonna fit in the car." And she says, "Like, what you mean I ain't gonna get in the car?" And the guy is like, "You're not gonna fit in the car." And he kicked his tires, just like, My tires can't take this." My tires can't take this.
well, it might be a legitimate
Hilarious.
concern, is all I'm saying.
Oh my god. So, yeah, don't do that. I
I
forgot
got
we had
one.
some other news stories.
Oh, you do?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I got a couple more.
Okay,
Do
go
you
ahead.
remember last year we covered Bob Menendez, Senator Bob Menendez? Do you remember this? Does it ring a bell? What if I said we covered the story about the sitting U.S. senator on the Foreign Relations Committee who was accused of bribery and taking payments from Egypt and was found to have like a bunch of gold bars hidden all over his house? Does that ring a bell?
No.
It doesn't really. Well, he got sentenced to 11 years in prison for corruption.
Oh,
So, yeah, good
okay.
for him.
Good
Only
for him.
11.
I'm sorry. I don't. Seriously, I don't remember that.
Okay.
I thought him and his
We
brother
covered it.
killed his parents or something. I don't
You and
watch
I
this
talked
show.
about.
I don't watch this show.
Don't.
So I
Well,
don't know. I don't know what
you're in
happens on
good
that
company.
internet show.
There's a lot of people that don't watch this
I
show.
don't watch it.
Uh, Donald Trump signed the Lincoln Riley Act yesterday.
Nice.
So that's gonna part of that is he's gonna be able to um cancel visas of pro-Palestinian protester students. So if you're here on a student visa and you get out there and you're like death to Israel and from the river to the sea and all of that, yoink, you might get rejected. You might get, and also there's the problem of what do we do with criminal migrants that are like super violent and their countries won't take us back and won't take them back. So let's say Venezuela dumped a bunch of murderers in our country and they won't take them back. What do we do with them? You ask. That's a good question.
Well, we can ask the British. They had a novel idea back several hundred years ago.
Oh yeah, what was that? What was that? Tell me that idea.
They all sent all their criminals to this island way the hell on the other side of the world.
Right. All right. Well, we don't have an
Y'all
island on the
stay
other side of
there.
the world, but we do have Guantanamo Bay. So Donald Trump is ordering 30,000 bed camp be built in Guantanamo Bay. And if you're a criminal migrant and and you hurt somebody and your country won't take you back, you're going to go to the worst place on earth and you're going to live there for an indeterminate amount of time.
Not in a prison, but in a place that they're building.
Yeah,
Completely,
it's pretty
totally
much
not a
prison.
prison.
You're not getting
Totally
out
not a
of
prison.
Guantanamo Bay.
It's totally not a prison, dude. It's not a prison.
Okay, so that's all the stories that I had racked up for yesterday and today.
All right, one more. This one is our heartstring story of the day. So if you have stuck around with us here on the Internet Dads show through the whole show, first of all, you get an extra Internet Dad point today. So rack that one up. No one else gets that but you. And you get the heartfelt story of the day. JJ,
Heartfelt.
This one's going to pull
those
your
heartstrings.
You know, when you go to like what a basketball game, high school basketball game, and you know, sometimes in the high school basketball games, the managers of the team are the kids that, you know, maybe have like muscular dystrophy or maybe you've got like autism on the autism spectrum or something, and they're the managers of the team. You know, they can't get out there and compete with the other kids. You know, maybe they're in a wheelchair. They can't get out there and compete, but they're still wanting to be a part of it. So you make them a part of it. And then there's a moment when you're like, let's bring them out and let them shoot a shot during a game so that they've got a moment in the game.
I mean, after you're solidly winning.
The other team, yes, after you're solidly winning, the other team's like, yes, we want, you know, and you have those beautiful moments. Okay. I want to show you one of those beautiful moments. It's just It will pull at your heartstring. It really makes you. Here, let me pull mine down so that you can see everything that happens here.
Right.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Here, we gotta watch it again.
Listen. You can't be mad at the guy for doing his job. That's his job.
Man,
Is that a
come
foul?
on.
I don't know a lot about basketball, but if you knock it out of bounds, isn't that a foul? Don't you get a free shot?
No. No.
That's not a foul?
He legitimately blocked the shot. The ball has to be going forward or up before you can.
That's hilarious.
He did what, but since he was the last person to touch it, the white people will get the ball again. Not the white people, but the people in the white shirts.
White shirts. White shirts. Listen, I know you did that on purpose.
Sorry.
I know you did that on purpose.
No, I didn't.
All right, Deacon. As we do at the end of every show, hey, thanks for hanging out, you guys on YouTube and rumble.com/internetdads. As we end the show every single day, it's time for jokes. Are you ready for your jokes, sir?
No, I'm not at all.
Are you ready for my joke, sir?
Prolong it a little more, but yes.
Deacon, I'm terrified of elevators. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah.
So I need to face this, but I also need to take steps to avoid it.
When I was back a long time ago, when I was in school, I had this girlfriend, and we dated for a while, and she broke up with me for one of the silliest reasons, that I used college ruled paper.
Oh,
yeah, she said she needed more space, so I just it was a tough one.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Thanks for hanging out. We'll be back tomorrow.
Politicians and talking heads lying left and right. You can help us bring facts into the light. Don't let your daughter lose her next swim meet to a psychopath dude with fake teeth. Essay for a comment, he said no. Watch now, the Internet Dad Show. Subscribe quick, the squid monster's on the way. Inspire with us tomorrow's news today. Oh yeah.
And cue the bathroom.